All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome back to the Run Home Podcast, where I am your host, Zubaz. I am joined today by a veritable cornucopia of genius. To my left, I'm not sure how it's showing up on your screen, is my man G Sparks. Down there is Citizen Clone, and last but certainly not least is Smittias. Gentlemen, welcome back, all of you repeat guests to the Run Home Podcast.
Good to be back.
Yeah, no, it's good. People are already trying to guess, what do these three have in common? And the answer is they're all good-looking chaps, but that's not why I brought them on. Really, what it is want to talk about new user experience. I'm just going to give a quick 2-minute diatribe and then let Clone jump in here. But it's really important that as we get to the next phase of development for the game, that one of the first things that we get out of the way is some things for new user experience. Number one, when we get people in the door, we got to do a better job of retaining them. And one is teach them the game through automated means. Number two is help them through just ease of use. And then the third thing is help them by human and community ways. And because it's really hard to advertise and really push the game publicly until we feel like we can retain and treat people right and bring them into the game in a good way. So that's what we're doing. And so where better to start than talk about where we were literally at our best over the last 20 years when it came to new user experience. And that's in that, I think it was, correct me if I'm wrong, 2016, 17, 18 timeframe, where we were doing mentor leagues and we brought a lot of people on. I want to talk about all of those things. So I'll stop there and let Clone add in anything he wants, and then we'll just go from there.
You hit it pretty good. I mean, and it's not even, Brian's been talking about, it's not even trying to keep people once they're in the door. It's trying to get them in the door, right? He's got the data about how hard it is. We get people on the site, they sign up, and
disappear.
We lose them in the first 5 minutes or whatever. But just that process of trying to grab people once we've actually got their eyes on the site. And there's different design things, and there's tutorials and other things we want to work on. But yeah, the biggest story of all that was the mentor leagues, and I'm assuming that you guys went down this same road of just talking about, I think we all know that there's kind of a high hurdle to getting used to what's going on in the game. And I don't know, I'm curious, I don't actually know how the mentor leagues got going in the first place.
That's what I was going to ask, if Smittias, maybe you could give us a history lesson on how that got started, because I actually don't remember what birthed it. What happened?
Yeah, so I think, just to piggyback on what you guys were saying, everything you were saying is spot on. And one thing I'd add to that is that, one of the things that makes this game great and makes it a lot of fun is the feeling of community and the connection with other people who play. And I think that's one of the things that's really, really hard to get on your own. When you're the new kid at school and and no one's talking to you and no one's hanging out with you, and you've got to figure out where the bathrooms are all by yourself. That gets kind of annoying, so I think the notion of the mentor league was really about kind of providing a nice kind of well-lit pathway for folks to come into the game and to immediately kind of have someone that they could reach out to, have someone that they could rely on, know that it was a safe environment for them to do so, know that they weren't going to get, torn into for having a newbie question. So I think it was really that was a big part of it, was to give them, some buddies, to give them some people that they could not only learn the game from, but feel comfortable playing the game, feel comfortable asking questions. So all of that really is what factored into it. One other thing that was a big part of it was, at the time, the new teams that were being started were also really poor. I mean, when you signed on for a brand new team, you were basically getting,
Yeah.
25, I don't know if you could even call them AAA players. And so it took a little while. And I think that was by design originally, to give people that sense of kind of building your own team and starting from the bare minimum sort of. But from a new user experience, you got to be pretty committed to want to wait 4 or 5 months before you actually have a team that you're interested in. So that was part of the mentor leagues too. We kind of curated these teams and created teams that were kind of ready to go right from the onset, lead teams that you'd be proud to own, from day one sort of thing. So that was another big difference, and something that I think helped us get things started.
And one of the things, and I heard this both from you and from you, G, that really opened my eyes. It actually kind of changed our idea of what order we were going to do things, was hearing a lot of the names that came out of that time, because everybody knows that there's a vast amount of people that are here now were here in 2008 or 2005. But then there's this big group of people that came out of those mentor leagues that kind of, I mean, the proof is in the names of people that came out of that time. And there's a lot of people. There's as many people that came out of there than the year after, the 3 years after we quit those leagues. Gee, because you had two guys, Luke and who's the other one, Ballmers?
Yeah, Luke and Tander were in my division. But you're right, there were a number of new users that have won a number of titles since, like the two we mentioned, Pedro, who helps run Remake.
Yeah.
G Sabino, Ty Cobb, he's in he's in TCL. But just to go off of what Smittias said, we had this idea. I think he came up with the specific idea for the Mentor League. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was your idea. But a few months later, I think it was Vox, who is no longer with us. But anyway, I mean, no longer with us on the site, I'm sure. But he came up with this idea to just have all new owners, and we put in this restriction. So I think you had to be on for maybe 10 months or whatever, or less. And so it was really a safe league for everyone to work and learn together. And
because before that, it was like mostly experienced owners, but then there would be a mentor for somebody that came in new.
Right,
but it was still complicated because you had all these experienced owners that were really good, and that still made it tough.
Right, and so we tried to start it with one owner per division, or one mentor per division. So we had 4, and then that way we're responsible for 6 new owners instead of 24, which is a lot to ask. And one of us ran the draft, which was always me, but now we don't have to worry about that either. So I think we're well positioned to go forward in a way that a lot of the hurdles that we used to have aren't there now. So
running the draft with new owners, I can only imagine how painful that was.
Sorry, you have all that free time now that the draft changed, so it's time to put you back to work as a mentor, right?
Yeah.
So how many people were? What was the size of it? How many leagues were there? All that stuff.
I actually looked back, and it looked like we had about, and correct me if I'm wrong, Smittias, but I think it was about 8 to 10 leagues that we eventually made.
Oh, wow.
Some of them were tied to specific veteran leagues, like Classic Prospects was one I noticed.
Yeah. Or Remake AA, right? That was a mentor league.
Right. That wasn't.
Oh, it wasn't?
Oh, okay. No. But there was some other.
Wait, did we? Yeah, I guess maybe we did.
I think so.
No, I don't remember.
What do you mean? How was it tied to other leagues?
Where all the mentors would be selected. It kind of is a badge of honor from that league. So I think there was League of Extraordinary Gentlemen Prospects. There were a few elite leagues.
And I think you're right. I think it was probably about 10 or so when all said and done. And I mean, I think it's funny. Some of this stuff is just kind of rushing back to me now. But yeah, the whole notion of we really tried to have it be where the four mentors were essentially competing with each other. You know, it was almost kind of like a,
Oh,
what was that, X Factor? Is that what the show was? Where,
oh
you know,
yeah,
where
where the
like, you know, so it
coaches.
was like, you know, these are my I want one of my guys to win the World Series. And, you know, so we were really trying to do it that way. And I think that's where we tried to have other leagues kind of sponsor a mentor league and that sort of thing. So yeah, that was the part that I think probably didn't work quite as well as I would have liked, you know, to have that, those mentors competing against each other to help their their league mate or their division win.
Oh,
But
that's a good
but yeah,
idea though.
that was a cool
Like you
one.
got a leg versus LOL or TCL or something rivalry between the mentees.
You could
Yeah,
make
you
it
could-
an Amway type system where you go up the tiers, right?
Got to
And you
get
have-
6 people.
Yeah,
yeah.
that's interesting. I had no idea. I
didn't
mean,
know
a
that's
lot
how-
of this stuff is new. I didn't know how this all went.
How long did it go for?
I mean, we were running them for, I mean, it has to be 2 years, I'd say.
Yeah, 2.5 anyway, I
Yeah.
would, you know.
How many guys did you have mentoring?
Well, I mean, I think each league had 4. It was kind of painful to get them sometimes, but
Yeah, we had
probably-
a few that were multiple, you know, mentoring
Yeah,
multiple
yeah.
leagues. Like I think Domer and Balmers were very helpful. I was in a lot of them. You were in a lot of them.
Yeah.
Luke helped after, you know, some of the people we trained.
Oh, he
eventually.
graduated
Right, they
right into a
graduated,
mentor.
absolutely.
That's cool. That's
From
cool.
mentee to mentor. And yeah, and
Yeah.
every now and then we'd have a mentor who, you know, abandons in the middle of the you know,
It
and,
happened a few times.
and
But
that happened a few times, but you know, that's
We-
the way
we
it
managed,
works.
so,
And again, if you make things easier, like what
Mhm.
we've done with the draft and so on, that'll make it a
Right.
lot easier to mentor. You know, mentors had full access to scouting. That was another thing. So, you know, so they could they easily could see everything with 10 scouting. They didn't have to work
Oh.
hard, you know, to be able to provide some good advice and guidance. And we instructed them on what they should and shouldn't say. You know, you never give out the ratings, but you know, but give some guidance based on the ratings, that sort of thing. One other thing I just thought of, there
That's
was another I think important part of it, was the fact that, you know, there was this issue with, like, you know, so everyone wanted to get in their own league, wanted to get in a new league, but you know, it can take a long time to find 24 owners.
Yeah.
And you know, and then again, that league in its old iteration would have been, you know, kind of some early stage teams. And so I think one of the other benefits of the mentor league was that, you know, we were keeping track publicly of new users. We were actively recruiting, you know, the people who were in there even early. I mean, even if they had to wait 3 or 4 weeks for the league to start, they were immersed in the process sort of as it was unfolding. And, you know, in some cases we'd encourage them to pick up another team, you know, while they were waiting for the mentor league to start and things like that. So it was, again, just kind of shining a brighter and more welcome light on the game, you know, a brighter light and a larger welcome mat, maybe something like that.
How did you introduce them to the community or the forums at the same time, or was that just the primary way you communicated?
Yeah, no, you know, again, some of this is just rushing back to me in memories, but yeah, I mean, we had get to know you threads, meet the new owners threads, meet the mentor threads. And so all of these leagues, you know, as soon as somebody joined, we'd encourage them to, you know, not only sign up for a forum account, but to, you know, we had a little questionnaire, who's your favorite team, you know, like this sort of thing. And just so everyone could get to know people.
Yeah, and I remember Hume, for example, picked all the Canadians because he's Canadian. So we kind of did geographic situations.
That's
Something
right.
in common for mentors and mentees was fun. So.
Huh. Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, so there's so many of
Olympics
these
of CSFBL.
ideas. Yeah, no, that's good. Like the more of these ideas that we can think of or that you can remember, the better.
How did you recruit the owners how did they get to the mentor league?
I mean, I was pretty much actively manning the new user list, and I was basically sending welcome emails. So, you know, when I'd see a new user sign up, I'd send them a welcome email and then, you know, here's what mentor, you know, may I recommend that you join a mentor league? Here's what mentor leagues are all about. It's a great way to get started. that sort of thing. So
That's awesome, because I'm sure that felt a lot more personalized too.
yeah, for sure. And
Like,
some people liked it, and some you have some people who didn't want to necessarily
Yeah.
talk to another human being right away. They wanted to kind of explore things on their own, and and not be given the hard sell. So it was a bit of a balancing act. I wanted to make sure, I think we all tried to make sure we were open and available to people without sounding like we were trying to sell ice cubes to Eskimos.
what do you think the added success rate? I'm asking you for a number you probably don't have, but like, what was the added success rate to user retention, do you think? Because it was obviously super impactful if we all remember it. But
yeah, I mean, I don't have numbers, but I mean, we were tracking it at the time. I do remember that, as far as how many users would what it did for retention. But yeah, I mean, there's no question that we launched mentor leagues for a reason. There was a need there. There was a lot of, kind of like what you were saying at the intro, there was just a lot of people who were coming to the game and really couldn't figure out even how to dip a toe in the water, let alone dive in. So some aspects of the game were even more challenging then than now, as far as being able to recruit a team, being able to recruit the whole notion of private leagues versus public leagues. I mean, recruiting into a private league, you pretty much had to go on the forums to do that.
yeah,
And so you're narrowing down your you're making it a lot harder to get to where we wanted people. We were making it a lot harder to help people get to where we wanted them to go.
it felt so elitist too, because I remember even when I was first coming in, it wasn't exactly like that, but there was leagues that you needed a password to get into, like it was like some secret club or whatever, and there was no way to ask for it other than get into the forums and send a clunky, awkward post.
Well, and in most cases, those leagues were desperate for new owners, and there was nothing exclusive about them at all. So it was kind of the worst of both worlds. It was, I mean, it's fine if TCL wants to send that message out, because they are exclusive. But most of the leagues that were kind of waiting for, we're waiting for owners, and and yet owners were being held behind a velvet rope.
So. Clone, what are you thinking as far as the future iteration of this? And everybody's going to ask, like, when is this happening? But
I mean, there's so many different things. There's so many different aspects to deal with new users, but I like thinking about this. I mean, you were talking about being the first day of school or whatever, and I've been talking about it as showing up to the party that's halfway done and you don't know anybody, and how some people can handle that, but for a lot of people that's difficult. So figuring out, and some people are okay with being the wallflower and waiting for however long and figuring it out, but figuring out a way for the other people, which I would consider to be the normal people, to have an easier way in, to open up the market. So I think, I mean, there's we're going around and lots of debates about it, but when you're talking about having to wait for the mentor leagues to go, I mean, when we talk about different league formats, that's something we've talked about maybe being able to do smaller leagues so we could run a new league faster. I definitely like the idea of having new leagues that are kind of a safe spot with a mentor, where just like any other game, right, where you're having kind of the beginner level that you're getting used to the game. At the same time, I mean, always having the ability to jump over into the rest of the game as much as you want. But there's all, I mean, we're talking about, I'm giving up on secret, but you're talking about scouting. So that was a conversation we were just having today about, if you think about how absurd people show up, and you look at a team and you're not actually even seeing the real numbers, like the difficulty the different barriers that we give to, you're not just trying to figure out what makes a good player, you're trying to figure out if the stuff you're looking at is actually real. So the ability to, I mean, I think we're going to be doing a lot of changes to scouting anyway, but maybe have full scouting for new owners with the idea that you, if you choose, so that you know, again, upping the difficulty level, then you're adding scouting elements later on.
One of the things
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, just adding on to that, one of the things I'm jumping out ahead of us a little bit there too, but I think there has to be some sort of automated tutorial type thing too, for either the people that just want to jump in, or just for people to just understand what the hell they're looking at on the screen. What made me think of that is when you said scouting, is there has to be some way for us to be able to show a new user, okay, this is where you go to do this, and this is what this is, and have that in a really easy format to ease people in.
That's the community managers. Community managers have always been good about. Now, Mac had talked about that at some point. I think we might have talked about kind of doing mentoring and well, I think he called it like AI mentor, which made it sound like totally impossible. But the idea of, you know, we have so many different people with opinions about how do you draft, who should you draft, how should you do this, all these different ways of onboarding people. But the biggest, I mean, I think it's always the biggest thing that's going to draw people to me is new leagues.
Yeah.
And the community. I mean, that's what you're saying, and that's Mentor League is in the middle of that.
Yeah.
What was the? Go ahead.
I was gonna say, one other thing that was cool about those leagues too is that there was the promise of them kind of graduating into regular leagues, and there might even be one still left. I can't remember, but you know, but for one, you know, there were mentor leagues that definitely graduated, and you know, and you know, we've had this debate before, and there's no right or wrong answer to it, but you know, the whole notion of a starter league or starter team that you then, you know, basically toss away and then join a real league, or is it that your first, you know, and I can tell you, I mean, I still, you know, the reason I'm in the Dirty Dozen is because it was the first league I ever joined, and I don't know, I just wanted to say it. It was my first team, and so I'm still in it. So I always feel like that was something that was neat about the mentor leagues, that, you know, you were getting a real team, and it was something that maybe you'd be able to hold on to for quite some time. So I don't know, just one other kind of neat aspect of it.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to ask. What was the process of I mean, the league, did people leave after a certain time? It was just up to them, or?
You know, I'd say it was a little bit less than, you know, less attrition than most, but you know, your normal attrition. But you know, the challenge that you'd have, and this is the same challenge we have in GOAT and some of the other kind of more nuanced leagues, is that, you know, it becomes someone else's team. So when that person leaves, it's hard to get a replacement. It's hard to find someone who wants to take over someone else's team like that. So I think that was one of the challenges we had with the, you know, when people did leave the mentor league, it was kind of hard to find a replacement sometimes. Yeah.
There's no reason why. I mean, we've talked about it, but you know, portability of teams. So when you're talking about liking a team at the beginning, you know, if everybody else, if all the other mentors or whatever else or mentees don't want to keep going, I mean, we can figure out ways, right, that you can carry over that team that you've already gotten attached to.
This kind of heads into that direction that we always get into when we talk about game development, is where everything is connected to everything. And it's like, well, let's just do everything.
Yeah.
You know, but I was going to say, when Dave, you were talking about, when we were talking about development on the side, not on a podcast, and I could tell, like, you were animated about the idea that the first team that you play with, you've got to be able to keep that team. And I could tell, like, that was bred from either something you saw in the mentor league or something that you experienced personally. And hearing your story about, like, you with that first team, did you see the people the mentees like really feel that way about their team, where it's like, this can't be just a team I'm just going to give up and go to a private league. This is my crew.
Yeah, I mean, G,
Yeah.
tell me what you think, but I mean, I definitely felt that, I mean, I think there were a lot of mentors who, for quite a while, their mentor league was their favorite team, or, was the one they kind of remembered as the most important. But I don't know, what do you think, G?
Yeah, I think the league in particular that we're thinking of was Blue Chip Prospects. That one continued on for it might still be around, but that was
a Facebook group. They liked it.
Yeah, I mean, that one.
Oh,
was
really?
perfect example of what we were looking for.
What was that? They had a Facebook group just for the league?
Yeah,
That's how they wanted to communicate for whatever reason?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, after it lived on, after it long after the mentor league.
Yeah, the mentor league designation, I think, graduated after 5 seasons. It was, and then stepped back. They ran their own draft, and then they just continued on for decades. So
yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think Say Hey Prospects, I think, was another one that lasted for a long time.
I know that name. I think that might still be around.
Yep.
Yeah.
What were the good? Sorry that I'm asking the question, but what were the good? I mean, what was a good mentor? What worked about it?
That's a good
somebody
question.
was doing a good job.
Yeah.
It was just people who are available, people who were around.
That cared.
Yeah, I think some mentors may have bit off more than they can chew with like coming up with these big diagrams and like analysis and stuff. Like, you just answer questions. I mean, if you want to do that, great. But I found just kind of the one-to-one being willingness to answer questions. And then if you wanted to come up with your theory of everything and post it, go for it. So.
Well, you turned out a couple of the most active people out of that time. Is that all? Was that your secret? Was just like be there for him, or like what else did you do for him?
He made the diagrams.
Yeah, he was the diagram guy.
I mean, Luke and Tander were very inquisitive, and I mean, you could tell they were going to be good. But I mean, Pedro was another mentee of mine, and with him, we just made a relationship where he'd ask a question, I'd answer it, we discuss, just go back and forth with people. That's what they want. So.
How did you communicate? Through the forums? Through PMs?
It was all PM, all kinds of PMs. I mean, I would post guides and some other, Smittias, as you know, some mentors would get really into the guides and the overall stuff, but the one-to-one, I think, was invaluable for keeping certain users still here today.
Yeah, that's another thing that we got to do a good job of, is like using the help page as like, I think we intended, like a wiki where it can grow and become something more robust and hopefully relatively opinion free, and just make it more mechanized. But I'm kind of shooting that off at the hip, but it just makes me think about that, like the help pages, just keeping making those better.
I'll also say, I mean, just to give a shout out, I mean, G's also he's a good guy. He's easy to talk to, he's friendly, he's likable, he's personable, I mean, I think that's the other thing, is we just have to
not compared to you, but I appreciate it.
We just have to make sure that we've got, the right people in this role as well, because, we all know there are plenty of people who are really good at this game, but who maybe wouldn't be the best teachers or wouldn't be the most patient of teachers. So, I don't think it's a coincidence that, some of the best graduates of the mentor leagues were G's disciples, because, he had the right approach to teach these guys and to take them by the hand. So
G's Disciples is a great gang name. That's what we did. G's Disciples. I love it.
And the full, when you're talking, and the full story of how he came through the gang. He got that bad trade to start.
Oh yeah,
came up off the streets, and now he could train people the right way.
Yeah. Did we say that story on the podcast? Because I think.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, we did.
Well, we did, but I haven't named that person. And
I don't know. I don't know who it was.
But what I was trying to think of is how we could apply that to either the first day at school or show up in the middle of the party is when you show up and like nobody's talking to you, and G's like, no, everybody's going to be talking to me. Like, I'm going to figure this party out. I mean, it's just not a natural thing to do, right? Like, to your point. So that's why it's important we have a welcoming committee.
How did you pick how did you get the mentors? Or did you pick them? Or did you personally?
Oh yeah,
select?
did you recruit them?
We were recruiting on the forums as best as we could, and that's, I think, when we started struggling to find them, that's when we tried the league route and said, maybe we could get a league to kind of endorse this sort of. So
And that didn't work, huh? That feels like it was a good idea, because then maybe you could actually farm a couple of mentors.
Well, and this, especially because I was talking about the fact that we were trying to get competition between the mentors, and so if it was 4 guys all from the same league all competing now in the same mentor league, kind of thought that would bring that out. But I think it's worth trying again. I mean, again, being a mentor back then meant running drafts and doing things that it wouldn't mean that, now it really could be a lot more about just being that resource, without you necessarily taking on a lot of extra work. So
yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So what maybe this isn't a great question, but I'm just curious. Obviously the mentor leagues have phased out of at least their most active spell. What caused that to happen? Like, why aren't they still just as active as they were? I know it's a tough question, but I'm just curious, just to make sure that
I have an idea.
we set it up. We set it up right. Yeah. What is it?
I probably ran the draft for half the mentor leagues. So
it was the draft. Okay. Well,
it was the draft.
That damn draft. Jesus. That draft killed more new owners and experienced owners than anything.
Yeah. The other thing about it, I think, was that I think the mentor leagues were great, but they were manually created. I mean, it was a labor of love to start a new mentor league, and I ended up starting to focus on other things and had to move in other directions.
Yeah, I've heard the stories about you and Vishon getting the league ready and how long that would take.
Oh yeah, I mean it was crazy, and Vishon would make fun of me, but I mean I was literally like, creating players, retiring the crappy ones, and creating more, and then realizing that this team had 2 good shortstops, whereas this team didn't have any. So I would move a so I made sure that every team had reasonable defense, and so hopefully in the future, if this is something that's reborn, it can be done with technology as opposed to with tender loving care.
Yeah, because I can only imagine if you were balancing them the way I think you were having to make double moves every time and retiring players randomly, creating new ones, and that had to be pretty.
It was easily. I mean, if I had to recall, I'd say it was easily 3 or 4 days work to set up one mentor league. And then you actually had to recruit new owners and do all that sort of stuff. So, it was definitely a labor of love, but it was also, something we knew we needed. So hopefully now in this new era of the game, we can do something like that we know works and know we need it, but do it in a way that is more streamlined and modern.
I am going to, on the fly, I wasn't sure I was going to do this. I'm going to break some news. Because when you said now in this new era of the game, we can do that, as of today at 9 a.m., we now have a 3rd developer on the team. This is the 2nd full-time developer. We have 2 full-time developers, including Brian, part-time developer. So now, for the first time ever, we had 1 person working on the game full-time a couple of months ago. Now we got 2.5 on the development side, not including the other pieces of the game. So hopefully, like a lot of these things that could just get streamlined and happen quicker, and be easier, we can make those things happen a lot faster. And this has to be a number 1A, if not number 1B priority, because we can't really do anything else until we cap all the holes that cause people to leak out the back end before we start opening the doors and pushing people in the front.
No
And
leaking out the back ends.
That's right. That actually, we should make that the motto when we advertise. No leaking out the
I'll
back
make a
end.
t-shirt.
You're not going to get new owners with that kind of marketing. Yeah. But we all, I mean, I think all of us here, I mean, all of us believe in the importance of the community. And I think, that's the mentor league, but there's so many ways that we can try to, I mean, we've seen the problem, right? At the same time we fixed the draft, we kind of realized that part of what kept the community together was some of this pulling ourselves up by the bootstraps, having to do things ourselves. So it burned us out, but it was also, you get to know 4 or 5 guys when you're texting them to make this kind of thing happen, so as we fix things, some of that goes away, but there's all kinds of, there's all kind of things in the works of trying to work on the forums to make, I mean, I think maybe people love the forums, but certainly we could try to make the forum experience
Make it
faster, better. The support for people coming in. I mean, but the community, with tutorials and help and all that stuff, the community's still at its best when it's everybody talking to each other, right? Not coming to us, not going to a help screen. It's everybody chatting each other up.
Yeah, and to that point, one thing that Clone has been very adamant about is that, like you mentioned before, like a knob and a switch for everything, that we put the control in the user's hands, and that makes it so much better, not just from an innovative standpoint, but just from a, like, play the game however you want. Just baseball. Let's do it, do it however it feels comfortable, and have fun with it. We're not bound by anything.
Are there other things that you guys wanted to do that you didn't get to do, or other new user ideas?
Another good question. Yeah. Anything that you didn't get to that was in the works? Anything like that?
I mean, I don't know if you could call this in the works, but I mean, just to riff off what you were just talking about. I mean, I think just, ways to foster conversations, ways to get more people to communicate. And, I was always trying to push for that to happen more and more on the game site. It's obviously easier said than done, but I mean, I think that's the, that's the thing, is that, you just asked the question, do people like the forums or not? I mean, I think people love what the forum brings to the game. I don't think they love the fact that it's in an entirely different location that has no connection or connectivity to the game whatsoever. And so I think that was what we were always trying to do, is how do we, and maybe that I don't remember how the Blue Chip Prospects Facebook group started, but but it was all in the same vein of, like, how do we find a way to get these people who are all sharing this interest, how do we get them to all communicate together? And the forums, as great as they are, I mean, with the exception of 1 or 2 leagues, most leagues would have maybe half their people show up on the forums, or like it's too far, it's just so that would be the thing, is that I know we tried to do back then, and that I think is the big challenge for us right now, is some of the things we're doing on Discord or on the forums. How do you there's a reason those things are happening. It's because that's what people want to do, but how do you do that while you're playing the game, not as a break from the game?
I think that's Brian. I mean, I'm gonna say it for Brian. I think that's something that Brian is pushing hard. There's, I'm gonna break more news about working on design refresh or whatever else. But one of the biggest parts of that Brian talks about, I totally agree with, is it's the integrating yeah, making it, instead of having our separate sites, making the game site, the forums, the, trying to do community blogs so we could be showing the community somewhere, the help pages, having them all be integrated into one thing instead of it obviously being that you're jumping around to 5 totally different things. And I think that's going to be a big push that Brian's making.
Yeah.
I think, sorry, one idea that just popped into my head, but
Yeah.
a lot of what we're talking about here, in 2022 can be handled differently than how we did it in 2016 or 2017. And I mean, I could see doing, Zoom calls, the Zoom training sessions or something like that, where you just have, 4 or 5 senior players, basically just run through some teams, show some tips and tricks, basically just do a session where anyone who joined in the last week gets invited to this.
That's a
to
good
this
idea.
Zoom call.
It is a good idea.
Sure.
And then you get to meet, everybody can introduce themselves, say something about themselves, what's your favorite team, whatever, and instantly, everybody's got kind of unlike being alone at the party, you've got your that was the other thing. It was like a mentor class. That was another thing. We were really trying to support that, like, you 24 join together, like learn the game together, grow together. And yeah, maybe through Zoom call or something like that, we could do something similar, a Zoom training session every few weeks for all new users.
Yeah, that's a good idea, because it could be multiple things. It could be like a communal thing, or it could just be somebody where everybody's on mute and there's somebody going through things and it becomes a training session. It could be something different every week. You could do
You
a
could
million.
invite them to a game of the
going to
week.
be lecturing from his diagrams.
Yeah.
Did you guys say that there's actually guides around that you guys made? Are they still around? Mentor guides?
I think there's a few. Yeah.
Yeah,
I got to dig those up.
we'd have to find them somewhere.
Yeah.
I want to see, when you guys are talking about that, I want to see a mock draft. How many of the mentors are still around?
Mentors or
Mentors.
men-
Can we get like a reunion class and put some mentors together for a mock draft online? I think that'd be fun.
Probably. I mean, we'd have to look it up who it was, but there's plenty. Balmers and Hume and Luke and
Was Pimp a mentor? I'm just finding a reason to say his name, since I say his name every podcast. I just had to get him in there. He was a mentor until he did unfair trades with all his mentees, took all their good players. I'm just kidding, Pimp. I love you.
I can't remember classic prospects. I can't remember
Yeah,
who
I can't remember either.
the 4 mentors were. I think Andrew Har was one.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Well,
He was.
I was joking about it, G, but was there any kind of, what was the trade training that was given in mentor leagues?
Well, we had the advantage of all new users together, so it didn't have to step in much. A few times we did. Basically, was trying to say, okay, a trade would come up where it's obviously quantity for quality, and I would caution, the person who's about to trade quality for quantity, that type of thing. Not specific ratings so much, but maybe just saying,
Yep.
you really need a shortstop or something like that, at the basic level. And they were responsive because, just know not to talk down to them. So.
Undervaluing draft picks, that would be the other thing,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, for sure.
Somebody who
Everyone
traded-
wanted to win now and make a splash because, it's a new league and,
Yeah.
and you're new. So that was another issue.
So it was just trade by trade kind of guiding them? Or were there any specific guidelines or
There might have
vetoing
been
or anything?
guides in a few leagues, but I don't recall offhand, but there was some definite specific trade suggestions when there was about to be a bad trade.
Mhm. I mean, that's got to be a big deal for all the new people that come in.
Right.
I would think. Yeah. All right, we're coming up on it. Any other things that you want to make sure that we get out there, either about the mentor leagues, about how we should do it the next time, or anything else? G, I'll start with You anything? Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of users on the site right now that like to tell us how much they know about the game. So here's a great opportunity for them to share that with new users and ultimately they'll raise the competition level for everyone. They'll improve the community, and they all have a decision to make. They can help new users or take advantage of them. So I'd like to see them do the former.
Oh my God, that was so much better than I could have.
Yeah, that was good.
Oh my God, yeah, that was the best thing ever. I almost want him to say it again, just let's do that twice.
Fortunately, it's recorded.
Yeah, thank God.
You have a choice.
Dude, that's
Yeah.
so good.
Yeah.
We got to turn that into like a GIF or whatever, and whenever somebody is talking shit about how smart they are on Discord, we can just play it. Smittias, what do you got? Follow that up.
Yeah, it's a tough act to follow. No, I mean, I think we hit on a lot of the key points on what made mentor leagues a good thing back then, and what would be a good way to bring them back now. And I think there's a lot of aspects of the game that are further advanced now, and will make that whole process that much better, that much smoother. I think that much more opening and available for folks. So I think it's a great time to be revisiting this, and to look at what worked back then, and how to make it work even better moving forward. So I think it's a good time for it.
Yeah, I'm excited. Clone, anything?
We have, there was one. Sorry,
oh
one
yeah,
last
please.
thing.
No, please.
The Tournament of Champions, even that, like that's something like that. Like, imagine if you had something where, if you're a mentor, if your mentee wins the World Series, you get invited to a tournament, or something like that. Or maybe you and your mentor get invited.
You get into a play-in tournament against the other ones or something.
That sort of thing. Like if maybe you do a play-in tournament for the first 12 winners of a mentor league, and it's the 12 winners and they're 12 mentors or something. I don't know.
No, I love all those.
I like stuff like that too. Yeah.
Although it has to be mentor versus mentee.
Yeah.
Student against
the student against the master
challenge. Yeah.
I like it.
7-game series after. Yeah.
Cage match.
I don't have it. I asked everything, but we're going to try our best to get this going again, and we're going to ask for your help, and we're going to use G's inspirational words when we're trying to find people. But we're going to try to get it going again. We're going to need people's help, and we're going to try to do whatever we can technologically to make it easier. I don't know. We're trying to cheat off of the stuff that you guys did well.
I'll just add to that I appreciate how much so many people have stepped up to try to help, knowing that we really are trying to do good things for the game, and get the heart rate up and get this thing moving and progressing. But the sheer lift of it requires help and requires people to step up. So I want to endorse what G said, but also if you've played the game for a long time, played it for free for a long time, this is a great way to pay it forward or backward, and help it during the next iteration, because the hope is that we can bring in a lot of new users. But my biggest concern is that we increase the velocity of new users and there's no one there to help them. So I think I will beg, but also push as many people as we can, all the smart people out there, to help with this influx of new users when we're ready for it. All right, guys, that was awesome. Thank you very much. I've given up on trying to have a cool way to say run home. So I'm just going to say, I'm going to run home right now. All these guys can stay here. I love you all. Thank you all very much. Be good mentors. Until next time, we are out.